Your portraits look technically solid, exposure spot on, focus is sharp, composition works, but something is missing. They feel a bit generic, maybe a little bit too safe. They don't have that distinctive quality that makes people stop scrolling. But here's the thing, it's not your camera and it's not your lens and it's definitely not your subject. Now, don't worry, I'm not saying that your technique is wrong. It's that you're spreading your understanding too thin across too many different tools. But I discovered 3 things that completely transformed how I approach portrait lighting. 3 insights that work together to create the kind of distinctive, repeatable results that end up in you having a style. When I first got my Bowen's lighting kit, it came with this basic 3x2 foot rectangular softbox. I honestly thought this was just a starter modifier kit, which is, yeah, exactly what it was. Something to use until I could afford some proper lighting gear. So I started to experiment, not following tutorials or copying setups I'd seen online. I was just dragging subject after subject into my studio. I'd put that basic softbox, a 3x2 from my Bowen's kit, behind them, above them, at crazy angles, anything that I could think of just to see what it would actually do. What I was hunting for was something that was expressive, something that felt like something, and not just another generic lighting setup that looked the same as what everybody else was doing. And that's when I discovered the first breakthrough. The rectangular softbox isn't a compromise, it's the perfect tool. Here's what most people don't understand about rectangular softboxes. They think because a rectangular box is basic, that it can't be good, but that's entirely missing the point. The rectangular shape gives you something that a lot of other modifiers don't. And it's like having a controlled window that you can aim exactly where you want it. Now, let me show you why this matters. This is Eddie, an R&B artist I was photographing, and I needed something dramatic, something that matched his energy. With an umbrella, the light would have just spilled all over the place. I'd have lost that controlled drama that you see here, but with this rectangular softbox positioned at this extreme angle, the light falls off exactly where I want it to. I get that beautiful gradation across the face, but I still get that moody background and high contrast look that I was after for this picture. That rectangular shape, it gives me a controlled beam of soft light, not a flood. It's not just about the drama though. The same principle works for softer, more luminous looks. This is the exact same modifier, just positioned differently. Still directional, still controlled, but now it's creating that beautiful even glow across her skin. And at 3 foot by 2 foot, it sits in that kind of sweet spot. It's large enough to be able to create soft light, but not so large that everything just becomes flat. You maintain contrast and dimension. One mistake I see photographers make a lot is that they go too large with their modifiers and the light becomes so soft, they lose that kind of modeling that makes the portraits interesting. Most photographers are chasing the largest lighting modifier possible because I think that they think that that's going to be the most professional looking piece of kit that they have. But when you get really large lighting modifiers, whilst they can be exceptionally good, if that's your style and how you want to use them, you can end up with quite soft and flat looking images if you aren't careful. So this isn't always about having the largest, fanciest and most expensive gear. This is about understanding what light does and how it works and how it reacts and creating the looks that you want to create. But knowing you have the right tool, that's actually only the beginning. The second breakthrough for me came when I stopped following lighting diagrams. Now, lighting diagrams definitely have their place and they're worth learning, but it was when I started experimenting that was the real game changer. I was methodically exploring what this one softbox could do in every position that I could think of that was possible. And here is what I discovered through all of that experimentation. The rectangular softbox can actually create virtually any portrait look that you want, but only if you understand how distance and angles work together. So a really basic example of this would be that in the close position, about a meter away, it gives you this more radiant, luminous quality. The light wraps beautifully around facial features, but you can still maintain that directional quality that keeps it from looking flat. Move it back 2 to 3 meters to the side and maybe tilt it down a bit. Now you're creating drama. The light becomes more defined, shadows get deeper, and you can sculpt mood with precision. But what nobody expects is that the same setup that created Eddie's dramatic portrait can create a completely different mood just by changing my approach to the angle. I started thinking of the softbox not as a soft light, but as a controlled light source. The softness comes from the size relative to your subject. The control comes from understanding exactly where that light is going to fall. Most photographers think about lighting in terms of setup, so butterfly, split lighting, but that's kind of thinking backwards to me. I started thinking about emotion first, then positioning the light to create that feeling. It's a different way of thinking. It's like a different mindset. The experimental period that I went through with this softbox taught me something crucial. When you really understand one tool, you can create any mood you want. You're not limited by having the right modifier for each situation when you truly know what is possible. Which kind of led me to the next thing, which tied everything together. Mastering one modifier completely is more powerful than being sort of mediocre with 10 different ones. I guess that sounds obvious now that I say it, but for me, it was absolutely revolutionary at the time. I'd been thinking like a gear collector instead of thinking like an artist. And here's what happens when you truly master one tool. Your results become predictable, repeatable, and distinctively yours. You can walk into any space now and know exactly what this softbox will do. I know how to position it for the mood that I want. I know what distance will give me the right quality of light that I'm after. And that confidence changes everything. When you're not worried about whether your lighting will work, you can focus entirely on connection, expression, and capturing genuine moments with your subject. But the sort of deeper transformation that happens when you stop chasing different lighting tools and different camera gears and so on, and you start mastering one approach, is you develop a signature style. People start recognizing your work. Your portfolio becomes cohesive instead of looking like it was shot by like 5 different photographers. The rectangular softbox gives me everything that I need. It gives me control direction for precise light, variable softness depending on distance and angle, consistent results across different spaces, and distinctive quality that's recognizably mine. And importantly for me, it fits into small spaces, which means that I can do photo shoots anywhere. I'm never limited by the location. So my lighting gear adapts to the situation, not the other way around. If you're struggling with lighting that feels unpredictable, or you've got modifiers sitting in your kit that you're not really confident with, this approach might be exactly what you need to break through to that kind of next level. I have a free studio lighting ebook. The links are in the description down below. And I have 3 editing masterclass workshops online available for you to watch. Once you sign up, you can watch them anywhere you want, as many times as you want to. There are no hidden secrets in the world of editing. There are only the tools that are available, but understanding how to use them properly and having a really good grasp of what's possible and why you're using those tools to do those things is absolutely critical to good editing. All of the portraits you see in the world, especially the ones that have stood the test of time, have all been edited. Editing is one of the key parts of being a photographer, and understanding the editing process well actually affects the way that you take pictures, especially when it comes to things like exposure. Now, you could spend years looking at one tutorial and then trying to find another one that matches up what you're trying to do. But with my workshops, you'll be able to fast track yourself and get ahead really quickly, because my workshops will take you through everything that I do the way that I specifically do it. So if you like the look of my work, check out my online workshops. The links are in the description down below. I think that you'll find they're really valuable. Anyway, that's all for today. I'll see you guys again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.